Youngest African woman conquers Mount Everest. A Tanzanian woman and the youngest African female has conquered Mount Everest, setting a record of being the first Tanzanian woman to reach the highest point in the world. Rawan Dakik, a 20-year-old Tanzanian woman, successfully climbed to the peak of Mount Everest in Nepal late in May of this year. She said her goal of reaching the world's highest summit was facilitated by her earlier exercises to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest peak in Africa. She has successfully scaled Mount Kilimanjaro more than 5 times. Rawan arrived back in northern Tanzania amid a grand reception by her parents and a section of Tanzanian tourism officials after staying in Nepal for 2 months during her Mount Everest climbing venture. She has risen to be the second Tanzanian national to reach the peak of Mount Everest, 9 years after an experienced Mount Kilimanjaro porter, Mr. Wilfred Moshi, raised the Tanzanian flag on the world's highest mountain. He set the record in May 2012 after spending 10 weeks trekking the mountain. Sarate Kumalo was the first African woman to conquer Mount Everest on May 16, 2019, after several climbing expeditions on Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania and other mountains in the world to raise funds for children's education and libraries in Africa. The peak of Mount Everest on the Nepal-China border is the world's highest at 8,850 meters above sea level. Sir Edmund Hillary and Nepalese Sherpa mountaineer Tenzing Norgay were the first people to reach the mountain's summit on May 29, 1953. The Himalayan ranges where Mount Everest is located were thrust upward by tectonic action as the Indian-Australian plate moved northward from the south and was forced downward under the Eurasian plate following the collision of the two plates somewhere around 40 to 50 million years ago. The Himalayas themselves started rising about 25 to 30 million years ago, and the Great Himalayas began to take their present form during the Pleistocene epoch, about 2,600,000 to 11,700 years ago. Everest and its surrounding peaks are part of a large mountain massif that forms a focal point, or not, of this tectonic action in the Great Himalayas. Information from global positioning instruments in place on Everest since the late 1990s indicates that the mountain continues to move a few inches to the northeast and rises a fraction of an inch each year, growing taller every year.